Down Fresno State up 20-10. UCLA would score in the third. Fresno State would kick a field goal and go up 26-17 entering the fourth. So in the fourth, Bruins QB Dorian Thompson-Robinson lets it fly, a 42-yard touchdown pass to Kyle Phillips. UCLA pulls within two. Later, it's Zach Charbonnet who runs it in from a few yards out. They get the two-point conversion and gives UCLA their first lead, 30-26. The Dogs kept him to just 19 rushing yards. 3 minutes to play. Haener finds former walk-on Eric Brooks in the end zone to retake the lead, 33-30 Fresno State. But soon after, UCLA went back on top. And 37-33 Bruins. 54 seconds to play. Dogs with the ball, and they kept moving the chains. From 13 yards out, Haener is going to connect with Jalen Cropper for the go-ahead touchdown here. His second 155 yards in this one, but UCLA with one last chance. Thompson-Robinson buying some time, looking for anybody. He goes for the Hail Mary, and it gets this wild back-and-forth game, 40-30 the field, but got stopped immediately. However, the Bulldogs celebrated with the fans in the stands.
You know, growing up as a kid, you know, you see games like Auburn and like Alabama, like the crowd. So really, just running over there and like being in the crowd with the fans was like a real, you know, humbling moment.
Just, you know, the heart that this team has is just unbelievable. Not one time during that game did we not feel that we were going to win that game. So it's just an amazing feeling.
Jalen, 2018, you were on the UCLA sideline on a recruiting trip. Did you make the right choice?
Definitely, yeah. I think about it all the time. You know, this was the right choice. You know, I look at my teammates. I look at Jake, Ronnie, the O-line. You know, I just look at them and just think, like, this was always the right place. And just, like, God is always going to put me in the right spot.
These guys aren't done yet. I heard it in the locker room. These guys aren't done yet, you know, and I really believe them. I got a lot of trust in these guys that there's something special about who they are and what they want to accomplish.
Brought to you by Camarena Health. Let's welcome in now Marcus McMarion, Dinuba native and Fresno State quarterback in 2017 and 2018. Not to take anything away from what your team accomplished in 2018, Marcus, but was last night's win bigger than when your team won there 3 years ago?
In one of the bigger games in Fresno State history, and just the fashion that they did it in, it's 100% going to be one of those rerun games for the next 10, 20, 30 years, even as far as just a Rose Bowl classic. I mean, those guys put on a show when they came to play.
What does it mean to now have a fourth?
It's huge. I mean, Derek kind of said it. I mean, what's the difference between the Mountain West and the Pac-12? I mean, it's not a big difference, I'll tell you that. I mean, having played in both conferences, especially looking from the ones and the stars, I mean, the guys are showing it week in and week out. I mean, not just Fresno State, but I mean, the Mountain West Conference in its entirety.
Marcus, you texted me this morning saying you want to talk about Jake Haener's toughness, so let's talk about it. He passed for 455 yards last night. He threw the game-winning touchdown with 14 seconds left, and he was in pain. He could barely walk off the field at the end. His hip was really hurting him, it looked like. As a fellow quarterback, you know what it's like when your team is counting on you. What did Haener do that impressed you?
Man, I could talk for an hour just about his toughness and his grit. And I've been really thinking about it all day, how to kind of put the perfect play on words or just make it poetic. But I honestly think that David Carr kind of put it the best as far as on Twitter. He just had a GIF emoji, just said a younger kid at a baseball game had a hat that read respect and just kind of tipping your hat. And I mean, that's really the best I could do to Jake Haener. I think that's the best compliment a quarterback to another quarterback could give, is say, hey, I respect your game and everything you did. And absolutely nothing but respect for Jake. I shot him a text after and just said, man, I mean, you're carrying that Bulldog legacy like no other. So super, super proud of Jake and what he did.
Jake Haener did a lot of things well last night. One thing in particular that I want to ask you about, late in the second quarter, the Bulldogs are about to punt. We've got this play that we're going to cue up right now. He sees something at the line of scrimmage. He runs up to the line and is able to draw UCLA offsides. It gave Fresno State a first down. Do you remember this play, and what do you think of his instincts?
Yeah, 100%. I would imagine that it was some kind of design play that they saw and they gave Jake the freedom to do. But this is something that quarterbacks get really excited about and take a lot of pride in, because, I mean, you're the one that's going up there. You're doing the hard cadence. You're trying to draw them offside. So his voice inflection is huge. I mean, the Rose Bowl, I would imagine it was loud. It was a a fourth down. So him going up there and to be able to kind of just get those guys to jump. I know quarterbacks take a lot of pride in that stuff.
Marcus, the end result of last night's game was a Fresno State victory, but the Bulldogs failed to score on their opening possession again. That's 4 games in a row. Coach DeBoer is always talking about the need to get off to a fast start. Is this a concern?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, guys getting the jitters out, and it definitely helps when you have a defense that's lights out like our defense that we have this year. So it's definitely something that they'll get going. I'm sure as far as just getting your first couple plays down, getting into rhythm, and getting things rolling. But I mean, when the offense clicks, I mean, we saw it last night. When they get going, I mean, with their skill guys, there's no slowing those guys down.
So now it's time for conference play, and it begins for the Bulldogs with a short week. We've got some notes on a graphic for you. UNLV will be at Bulldog Stadium on Friday. Have you looked at the conference this year? San Diego State, Utah State, and Wyoming are all 3-0.
Yeah, being on the outside looking in now, not having to worry about the 1-0 week to week. I actually have that privilege of kind of looking ahead now. And the Mountain West Conference, I mean, it's competitive. I mean, from the top down to the bottom. So it's going to be fun. I mean, it's not going to be a walk in the park, but I mean, this team's definitely shown that they have what it takes to go all the way and win a championship and be in a major bowl game at the end of the year. But I know Coach DeBoer and how Jake Haener just those guys are laser focused on winning one game every week, and I know that's what they're going to do.
He's Marcus McMarrion. More with Marcus in a little bit. Unscripted, coming your way with Scott Bemis. Up next on the Bulldog Insider, from offense to defense, Tabena Okeke joins us. What does he think about the Bulldogs' win at the Rose Bowl? That's next.
On the corner of Van Ness and Tulare in downtown Fresno, in what is now the fully restored Rowell Building, fashion furniture got its start in 1960. Fast forward 6 decades, and this is what fashion furniture looks like today. 50,000 square feet of the most beautiful home decorating ideas you've ever seen, including the largest selection of American-made furniture in the Valley. Fashion furniture on El Paso across from River Park. There's nothing like it in all of California.
Night, Sarah.
Drive safe.
Bye, baby. Bye.
Drive safe.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Drive safe.
We all say it. Chevy can help you do it. The Chevy family of SUVs. Find new peace of mind. Find new roads.
Very well-qualified buyers can get interest-free financing for 72 months on select popular 2021 Chevy SUVs. New models are arriving weekly, so secure yours today. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
State Bulldog and MVP partner Exhibit Supply. We are the official canopy of Fresno State Athletics. Exhibit Supply provides custom canopies, flags, and tape around the valley. Your winning team, Fresno State and Exhibit Supply, the official canopy of Fresno State Athletics. Go Dogs!
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC. Get 0% financing on most GMC Acadia models, or get 0% financing on most GMC Terrain models. We are professional grade GMC.
Download the YourCentralValley.com app for immediate information from KC24. Breaking news alerts and live streams from state and local sources. Download the app now. KC24 News is brought to you in part by A&W Restaurants.
We are pleased right now to be joined once again by Tabena Okeke, Fresno State defensive end from 2014 to 2017. Tabena, what did we see last night? How would you describe how that game played out?
Man, we just saw a Fresno State team show the world, not just us Bulldog fans, because we already know what they could do. We showed the whole world and the whole Pac-12 that we can play with anybody. Like Pat Hill said, any place, anytime, anyone. Doesn't matter who we play. We've already shown we can go toe-to-toe. We beat the teams that we need to beat, and we compete with the teams that we're not supposed to beat. That's Fresno State in a nutshell. And Jake Haener just showed everybody that he's a prolific quarterback. And hey, as a former Dog, it was fun watching that.
I brought this up to you a couple of weeks ago, but you played a lot of ranked teams in your time at Fresno State. You lost most of those games. When you beat Boise State on Senior Day in 2017, Broncos were ranked 23rd. I know it's not an exact parallel to what happened last night, but do you remember what that feeling was like, and can you compare it to what the current players are feeling like right now?
Man, that night when we beat Boise in 2017 on Senior Night, it was, first of all, that's the last I've seen Bulldog Stadium maybe in my 4 years. You know, they came into that game obviously ranked in the top 25 in that year, and when we beat them, for us to feel as seniors going out that year it was exhilarating. Compared to this game, I think this game was bigger, honestly, because this game was a magnitude of for all of. But for the years, team the but first time we beat a top 15 team in the last 10, 15 years.
So to Ben, a big picture. Coaches and players always downplay the rankings, but it's a big deal to be in the top 25. As Fresno State is now set to begin conference play, how do you see the rest of this season playing out?
We're the top dogs now. You know, teams have to look. Teams are going to bring their best for us. You know, coming to the season, I think they had us, you know, going maybe 6-6. Like you said, people might say they don't look into the rankings, but the rankings are important because obviously it shows you a magnitude of how big or how good you guys came in the season.
As a defensive guy, I want to ask you, Evan Williams led the team in tackles last night for the third game in a row. Is that a big deal?
Oh, that's huge. Evan reminds me of a Deron Smith, a Juju, Mike Bell. You want your safety to be the highest leading tackler, but the way he plays, he's always around the ball. Regardless if it's in the secondary, it's in the back end, regardless, this guy is a baller, and I'm excited to watch him. His leadership just propels everybody to play better.
To Ben LKK, appreciate the insight once again. Thanks so much.
No problem.
In the NFL, the Raiders playing for the second time in less than a week. On Monday night, they beat the Ravens in overtime. Today, they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Derek Carr passed for 382 yards. He had 2 touchdown passes, a 9-yarder to Foster Moreau, a 61-yarder to Henry Ruggs. Raiders win 26-17. They're 2-0.
It's a hard business, but you see a group of guys that they've put together that have just done this. A lot like 2016. You know, our team just, and I'm not comparing their records or anything like that, but I'm saying the chemistry of the team was close. And that's how you know you have a good football team.
We don't know if the Green Bay Packers have a good football team this season anyway. They got blown out in week 1. They play tomorrow. We'll see how they do against the Lions. Atlanta lost to Tampa Bay today. Tyler Davison had 3 tackles. Michael Walker had 2 tackles. And Charles Washington had 1 tackle for the Cardinals in their win over the Vikings. We'll be right back with Scott and Marcus next.
If you'd like to see the most impressive, one-of-a-kind, hand-built dining room furniture made from reclaimed Pennsylvania barns, built in the 1800s, visit Fashion Furniture. Amish craftsmen select weathered oak planks, carefully removing nails to maintain the time-worn beauty and repurpose this magnificent resource into the most stunning dining room furniture you've ever seen. Daniel's Amish at Fashion Furniture. There's nothing like it in all of California.
Hey, you may be in Fresno, but now you can get the authentic taste of Philly at Carl's Jr. Juicy charbroiled Angus beef topped with thinly sliced ribeye, melty cheese, roasted peppers, and onions. It's the all-new Philly Cheesesteak Angus Thick Burger. You can even upgrade your breakfast to the new Philly Cheesesteak Burrito with fluffy eggs. Turns out, you don't have to go all the way to the East Coast to get the real deal. Just pop down to your local Carl's Jr. and fill up on the new Philly Cheesesteaks. Feed your happy.
Midland Tractor has a history of partnering with local growers, creating successes as rich as the valley soil. We bring the latest technology to our customers and provide on-site training and startup with the promise to stay until your equipment is performing as it should. Midland Tractor guides and supports through sales and unmatched service from the ground up. We've been committed to grower success for over 40 years. Thanks to you, our story continues. Midland Tractor Equipment Solutions, guaranteed.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC. Current eligible GMC owners get over a $2,700 purchase allowance on 2021 GMC Sierra light-duty crew cab models when you finance through GM Financial.
Come see us at your Fresno Buick GMC dealer.
Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
The reasons to treat yourself to a frozen drink from McDonald's go on and on.
Enjoy a medium frozen drink for $1.59. Pair it with a spicy deluxe or a spicy crispy chicken sandwich.
KC24 News is brought to you in part by Serve Pro of Clovis.
All right, time for another edition of Unscripted, where we get to ask Marcus McMaryion about literally anything. But the win over UCLA is so good, Marcus, I got to ask you a couple more questions about that. Now, current Bulldogs are transfers from UCLA. Of course, you transferred from Oregon State to Fresno State. Starting safety Elijah Gates came to the Bulldogs from UCLA, as did offensive lineman Alex Akingbulo. Now, he transferred to Fresno State in 2019 after spending a couple seasons with the Bruins. He seemed to really be relishing in the win last night at the Rose Bowl. What does it mean as a transfer from a Power 5 program to go back to a Group of 5 program and then be able to knock off one of the heavyweights?
Yeah, I mean, I personally never got to experience that, what it was like to do that. But I would imagine these guys were on an emotional roller coaster. I mean, a sense of kind of bitterness and vengeance because the things didn't work out at your old school. But once that initial kind of motion passes, I feel like there's probably a sense of kind of bliss and love and respect, just because, I mean, they have guys that they went to college with and brothers on that side of it. So probably an emotional roller coaster would be the best way I could describe it.
Now, after the game on the television broadcast, we saw Chip Kelly spending a few minutes on the field with Jake Haener after the game. They were having a discussion. It looked like Chip was giving his respect to Jake. I'm curious. I'm always curious about this. After the game, when you're talking with an opposing coach or the players on the other team, what is being said between you guys? And what's the most impactful thing an opposing coach or an opposing player ever said to you on the field immediately after the game?
Yeah, it's definitely lots of small talk, and it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, I've had guys in the past that I've talked to that I knew all the way since high school, and we played against each other in high school. So obviously those conversations are a little bit more in depth about family and how's everyone doing. And a lot of the times it's kind of just surface borderline stuff like, hey, good luck next year. And I think the most impactful conversation I had was when I was a freshman. I think it was just because I was younger. We were losing to Oregon at halftime, 31-7. We ended up coming back, and Vernon Adams talks to me after the game. Ended up losing by a touchdown, and just kind of gave me some words of encouragement. Said you have a bright future ahead of you. Just keep going. So it's really cool just to have an older quarterback that was succeeding kind of speak some words of belief into me.
Yeah, I imagine that means a lot coming from an opponent. The way the Bulldogs played against Oregon and in the upset of UCLA, obviously, last night, they've shown they can play with anybody. There's been some talk about maybe, revising the playoff. And, it's traditionally been a college football playoff that hasn't had a lot of access for the Group of 5 teams. So, it'd be hard for Fresno State to get into that, obviously, this year. If they do revise the playoff, Marcus, what do you hope to see for the Group of 5 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head, just that there's equal opportunity to go around. I mean, if you got Group of 5 quote-unquote schools knocking off all these Power 5 teams, they should have just as not an opportunity to play and be a part of that playoff system. So I would imagine the first year or two there's going to be some kinks that got to get worked out to smooth it out, but I definitely think it's heading in the right direction.
Real quick, in 10 seconds, are all the players for a revised playoff that you've spoken to?
I would imagine so, yeah, especially all my Fresno State buddies. We'd love to kind of get our shot at more schools than just the West Coast Power 5 schools, so it would be a good time.
All right, that's Marcus McMaryion. Of course, he knows a thing or two about knocking off UCLA. Thanks again for joining us, Marcus, on Unscripted. We will chat again next week. Thanks a lot, bud. All right, up next on the Bulldog Insider, what happened on this day in Bulldog history? Here's a hint. It involved Jim Sweeney and Ron Rivers, Sr. That's next.
Introducing the Whistler Retreat 5-piece bedroom collection by Napa Furniture. king or queen bed, nightstand, chest, dresser, and mirror. An American shaker design featuring exotic solid mango wood with a 17-step hand-rubbed finish that is absolutely stunning. The closer you look, the more you'll appreciate the quality of English dovetail construction. The Whistler Retreat Collection, available exclusively in Fresno at Fashion Furniture on El Paso across from River Park.
From the open road to the scenic road to the dirt road, you're gonna love every path you take. Let your Toyota journey begin. Save with amazing MPG and cash back on the 36 MPG Highlander Hybrid, 39 MPG Venza Hybrid, or the 52 MPG Camry Hybrid, all with no plug-in required. Grab the keys, come on, let's go. Toyota, let's go places.
Aspen Public Schools are ready to transform the community by developing students into exceptional leaders. Our free public charter schools have 2 campuses currently enrolling TK through 6th grade students for the fall. Our smaller class sizes, individual attention and instruction, and built-in student support promote social and academic success. Aspen students find connecting up with their families. Aspen Public Schools. Enroll today and prepare your student to be a leader.
Darkside Window Tinting does more than just auto glass. We offer the same advantages to homes and businesses too. Reduced heat, more privacy, and impact-resistant film that keeps shattered glass together. Darkside Window Tinting. Affordable, reliable, professional.
Denny's now has Bennies. Not just one, but many. It's the classic Benedict's plus 2 twists, so we really must insist that you try 1, 2, or all 3 of our Bennies. See you at Denny's.
In response to the increased power of Kino, thousands of listeners have flooded Facebook with encouragement and are now listening to the most powerful oldies radio station in America. On behalf of everyone at 50,000 watt 940 Kino, thanks for listening.
Darkside Windows' unique wash formula keeps your windows clean twice as long by leaving an invisible shield on your windows that repels dust, dirt, and pollen. And we offer water spot removal, cleaning inside and out, screen, track, and window frame cleaning. Darkside Window Tinting in Clovis, your auto glass and window experts.
Join KC24 for Fresno Restaurant Week, September 20th through the 29th.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider. July 1st, 2012. That's when Fresno State officially joined the Mountain West Conference. Prior to that date, the Bulldogs played in the Western Athletic Conference, also known as the WAC. Their first season in the WAC was 1992. Their first WAC game, at least in football, on this day in Bulldog history. Brought to you by Midland Tractor. The date was September 19th, 1992. Fresno State hosted Colorado State, its first conference game as a member of the Western Athletic Conference. The Bulldogs had previously competed in the Big West Conference. They won 3 conference championships in the Big West. Their debut in the WAC? It went very well. Trent Dilfer was Fresno State's quarterback. He passed for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Bulldogs running back? Ron Rivers. 10 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. Fresno State won big, 52-21, in front of just under 38,000 people at Bulldog Stadium. We were ready tonight, said head coach Jim Sweeney. It was a great win, a great entrance into the WAC. I thanked our kids, and I told them I thought they represented our program in great fashion. Fresno State would go 6-2 in WAC games in 1992, finishing with a share of the conference championship, sharing it with both BYU and Hawaii. Time now for the Bulldog Insider Play of the Week. It's brought to you by Exhibit Supply Company, and we're going with the game-winning touchdown last night. Jake Haener to Jalen Cropper from 13 yards out with 14 seconds left. That gave the Bulldogs the lead for good, 40-37. Haener again had 455 passing yards, Cropper 141 receiving yards. Our tweet of the week, also from yesterday, from Ronnie Rivers. He had 136 rushing yards. Having a little fun with the predictions from the College Game Day crew. Rivers' tweet, "This aged well." We'll be right back.
On the corner of Van Ness and Tulare in downtown Fresno, in what is now the fully restored Rowell Building, fashion furniture got its start in 1960. Fast forward 6 decades, and this is what fashion furniture looks like today. 50,000 square feet of the most beautiful home decorating ideas you've ever seen, including the largest selection of American-made furniture in the Valley. Fashion furniture, nothing like it in all of California.
Stanton Optical is always here for you. With our safe telehealth technology, you can just walk in for an eye exam whenever you need one. And your eye exam is included when you buy 2 pair of glasses for as low as $59.95. Find your nearest store at StantonOptical.com or call 1-800-STANTON.
At Camarena Health, we understand the needs of the communities we serve are as unique as the people who define them, offering a full range of high-quality healthcare services across multiple facilities throughout Madeira, Chowchilla, and Oakhurst. Camarena Health. We are community. We are family. We are health.
6 months of AccuView Oasis contacts plus an eye exam. Only $125. Lowest price ever. Plus free trial lenses in store. Get the deal at Stanton Optical. Unbeatable prices without the drama.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium and capable. That's professional grade from GMC. Current eligible GMC owners get over $2,700 purchase allowance on 2021 GMC Sierra light-duty crew cab models when you finance through GM Financial.
Visit CenCalGMC.com today.
Nosotros nos dedicamos es a tener la protección correcta para la familia, and that's basically what we focus on, making sure that the right price.
No one wants to overpay for anything, especially insurance. We know that.
If you have any issues with the claim, I'll follow up and make sure that everything's taken care of.
El mejor precio para la protección mejor para su familia.
New Horizon Insurance. Low-cost leaders statewide.
Character matters. It's the foundation for student success.
The Tulare County Office of Education and KC24 are committed to what matters.
We partner together to bring you weekly stories of students living these pillars.
Respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, citizenship.
Those who do what's right are great role models and are changing the world for the better.
Your Character Matters, Tuesdays at 5 on KC24. Local news, it matters.
KC24 News is brought to you in part by Planet Fitness.
A reminder, you can always watch segments from the show online at yourcentralvalley.com. Whether you missed them the first time or like them so much you want to watch them again, the website is yourcentralvalley.com. So you heard earlier in the show from Derek Carr. Game press conference today with those comments about Fresno State. Nobody asked the question, no prompting. He just said what he said about the Bulldogs, how 4 straight wins over UCLA should potentially get Fresno State into the Pac-12. Fun fact with Derek Carr and Jake Haener. Through 2 games in the NFL, Derek Carr leads the NFL in passing yards for quarterbacks, 817. Through 4 games in college football, Jake Haener is the FBS leader in passing yards, 1,464. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Sunday. Good night.
It's back and bigger than ever. Chochancy Gold's $1.45 million Golden Wheel of Cash. Now through October 29th, just spend a total of $3,000 and you could walk away a millionaire. Drawings are Thursdays and Fridays at 8, 9, and 10 p.m. During every drawing, 3 winners will be called to the stage to spin the wheel. And every spin wins cash prizes. Earn entries daily only at Chochancy Gold Resort and Casino.
I wish I could service my Lexus and not leave my house.
I heard that.
What?
It's easy. All you have to do is go to FresnoLexus.com or call the dealership for pickup and delivery service right to your home. You can actually pay via text, receive any updates on multi-point inspections, easy, safe, and convenient.
Sounds like you got this.
We've had a year to perfect it. If you're looking for luxury service, all we ask is that you try us first. Fresno Lexus.
Choosing can be difficult. Corner Bakery makes it simple with our Choose 2. Mix and match any 2 kitchen meals. For for freshly prepared, artisan-inspired choices. Visit one of our Valley locations in Fresno and Visalia today.
From the open road to the scenic road to the dirt road, you're gonna love every path you take. Let your Toyota journey begin. Get $500 cash back on 8 Toyotas, including RAV4, Corolla, Highlander, and Venza. All Toyotas come with Toyota Safety Sense and Toyota Care Standard. Grab the keys, come on, let's go. Toyota, let's go places.
I'm Jay Jackson, two-time towering close. Palace going fast, 1200 and lowest. Jay Jackson got prices that you can't beat. 5889 East Winton Street.
So you better get here before Saturday, before all these low prices float away.
Download the YourCentralValley.com app for immediate information from KC24. Breaking news alerts and